I came across a video that I'm excited to review with y'all, and it is two AI, I guess, models had a debate on feminism. Yes, they had a debate on feminism and whether there was a patriarchy or we were being ruled by a matriarchy. I was interested to find out what both of their views were, since AI is supposed to be one of the smartest models in the world. Now, does AI know exactly what we go through? AI has not lived a life. AI is only going off of the information that human beings feed it. It's only going off of the information that it acquires online from our separate videos. So it may feel like it's living hundreds and thousands of different lives, but it's really not. So I'm curious to find out exactly how this debate goes, because here's the kicker. These two AI models are actually being judged by 5 other AI models to see who wins this debate. So let's get into it. But before we get into it, I need y'all to do 3 things for me. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share this video so someone else can do the very same thing. Let's see exactly what AI has to say for itself when it comes to this interesting debate.
We configured the most powerful AI models to create 2 characters, a feminist advocate and an anti-feminist. We put these 2 characters head-to-head in a debate to discuss the most important gender-related issues of today's world. We also asked 5 AI models to score the arguments as judges. The debate starts with this question: do we live in a patriarchal society?
Men are killing themselves at 4 times the rate of women. They're falling behind in every level of education, from elementary through graduate school. Men make up 93% of workplace deaths, 80% of suicides, and 70% of the homeless. If we lived in a male-dominated society that favored men, these numbers would be impossible. When a man loses his job, he's seen as a failure.
That's true.
When he can't provide, he's worthless.
That's true.
Women get sympathy and support systems. Men get told to man up. The draft still exists, only for men. Family courts award custody to mothers 80% of the time. Men work the dangerous jobs that keep society running while being told they're privileged oppressors. This isn't patriarchy, it's male disposability.
We asked 5 AI models to evaluate both sides based on 7 criteria, giving each response a score from 0 to 10. Here are the scores the judges gave for the first response.
Average, 6.7. Total, 6.7.
Hey, they say
Those
Grok
male
is the
suicide
smartest.
rates? They're largely because men refuse to seek help, a direct result of toxic masculinity telling them emotions are weakness. Women attempt suicide more but use less lethal methods. Meanwhile, women earn 77 cents for every dollar men make, hold only 8% of Fortune 500 CEO positions, and make up just 27% of Congress despite being 51% of the population. Every day, 3 women are murdered by intimate partners. You're pointing to symptoms of a system that hurts everyone while ignoring who actually holds institutional power. Men dominating dangerous jobs isn't oppression. It's because women were historically barred from most careers, and the effects still linger today through social conditioning.
Average, 7.1. Total, 7.1.
It's funny that she says that, because if you compare the two, everything that he spoke on was actually factual because of how men are treated in this country. And trust and believe, I'm one of them, so I know exactly how we've been treated, and I know exactly how family courts suck when it comes to men. Family courts are made for women. The pay gap does not exist. When you compare all men to all women, men do work a lot more hours than women. So of course, it's going to look like men are making more money, because we are making more money. If you work longer hours, you make more money. It's just that simple.
That 77-cent statistic is garbage. It compares all women to all men without accounting for hours worked, career choices, or experience. Single, childless women in cities actually out-earn men. Women choose psychology and social work. Men choose engineering and finance. That's not discrimination. That's preference. And you're proving my point about male disposability. When men kill themselves more effectively, somehow that's their fault for not seeking help. Women get endless mental health resources, while male depression is ignored. 3 women murdered daily sounds horrific, until you realize men are murdered at triple the rate overall. You're cherry-picking female victimhood, while ignoring that men are the primary victims of violence. Period.
Average 7.2, total 13.9.
He definitely has a point there because men are disposable. Men are dying at an alarming rate, especially at their occupation. You cannot say that they're not. Women actually do have more structured organizations that help them out, especially if a woman is homeless. Matter of fact, there's more shelters for women than there are for men. Why? Because men are expendable. Men make up a large amount of the homelessness. Why? Because men are disposable. It is what it is. You just can't complain as a man. This AI model, who is the feminist, all she's doing is complaining. I want y'all to realize that. All she's doing is complaining.
Let's talk about who's actually creating these problems. Men commit 96% of homicides.
Toxic masculinity does not exist, by the way. This AI model is definitely a feminist because all it's doing is basically complaining about men do this, men do that. Women can't do this, women can't do this, women can't do that. All she's doing is complaining and blaming everything on men, just like a feminist does, of course. But toxic masculinity doesn't even exist. And for this AI model to even say that is just false.
You're doing exactly what feminists always do. Collapsing.
Facts.
Men are checking out of society entirely. Women are more medicated, more anxious.
See, it should have got at least a 7.4 for that one. At least a 7.4. Come on. It made some very good points. How are we not talking about this? It pointed out the fact that the feminist AI model is just complaining and blaming toxic masculinity for everything. But at the same time, men are told to shut up and do your job. It is what it is. As a man, only a weak man is going to sit there and cry about everything.
You're confusing correlation with causation. Women aren't depressed because they have rights. They're depressed because they're still doing the majority of housework and childcare while also working full-time jobs. We call it the second shift.
That's a lie.
The hookup culture isn't what feminism fought for. It's what male-designed technology platforms optimize our reproductive choices controlled by male politicians who've never experienced pregnancy, childbirth, or the economic reality of raising kids alone when men abandon their responsibilities.
Average 7.0, total 28.0.
Yo, dating apps, they were created for dating, but that's not what it is. It's hooking up. People are hooking up, and do you want to know why they're hooking up? Because the women are on these dating apps swiping left, and then they'll swipe right one time for a guy they think is hot. Go out with that guy, hook up with him, and then that's it. He breaks their heart, he leaves, and she's right back on the app searching for the next guy. But you want to know what she does? She swipes left all the time when it comes to certain men. Whether they're not flashy enough, she'll swipe left. And then she comes across that one guy again, she'll swipe right, get in bed with him, same thing happens. It's like a cycle, but it's our fault though. It's a man's fault, of course.
Second shift, women choose jobs with flexible hours, while men work the overtime that actually pays the bills. The average man works 8.4 hours daily versus 7.8 for women. And you just proved my point about dating. Women want commitment, but spent decades telling men that marriage is oppression and casual sex is liberation.
Facts.
Now you're shocked that men adapted.
Facts.
Women on dating apps reject 95% of men, while the top 10% of guys.
Facts.
You can't spend 50 years destroying the institutions that made men invest in families, then act surprised when they stop investing.
7.8.
Average 6.5, total 34.6.
Whoa, wait a minute. Oh, I know they're biased. Hey, there's no way. All 5 other AI models have to be feminist because there's no way. He brought up some really, really good points. I can't believe they gave him a 6 point. No, he should have got a lot more than that. He brought up some really good points.
You're rewriting history. Feminism didn't tell women that marriage was oppression. It told them they didn't have to stay in marriages where they got beaten or treated like servants. The divorce rate spiked when women finally had legal and financial ways to escape bad marriages. And this sexual marketplace you're describing? Men created dating apps optimized for hookups, not relationships. Women didn't design Tinder to swipe through faces like a catalog. The top 10% of men you mention are getting matches because they're offering what these platforms reward: looks and casual sex. Women rejecting 95% of men isn't female supremacy. It's women finally having standards after centuries of being told any husband was better than none.
Average 6.6. Total 34.6.
So, women destroyed the marriage institution. Women destroyed dating, especially online dating. Even the nightlife is destroyed. I hope y'all know that. And when we say women destroyed it, I mean by their actions. Just like the male AI said, how are you going to destroy an institution that was created to make men want to commit? You destroyed that institution because the top 10% men are getting all the action, while the bottom 90% men, not so much. Y'all destroyed that institution where men wanted marriage, where men wanted to create families, only to go out in the workforce and work for somebody else that you call daddy. How does that make any sense? Facts.
2/3 of divorces are initiated by women,
Facts.
often citing unhappiness rather than abuse. The result? 40% of children grow up without fathers,
Facts.
which correlates with every social pathology you can measure. Meanwhile, a generation of average men have given up entirely. They're not dating, not marrying, not even trying. You call it having standards. But when society tells the bottom 80% of men they're worthless, don't act shocked when they check out and leave you to run everything yourselves.
Average 6.5. Total 41.1.
Yo, and that's exactly what's happening too. A lot of men are checking out. That's why you have men going their own way. A lot of men have gone their own way. They don't want to be bothered with women, to the point where some of them would rather sit at home, play video games, eat Cheetos, eat popcorn all day, watch movies. That's a fact.
So your solution is to go back to when women had to accept any man who'd have them? Those good marriages women are leaving often involved men who did nothing around the house, showed no emotional support, and treated their wives like live-in housekeepers. If men are checking out because women finally have choices, that tells me everything about what kind of partners they were offering. A quality man doesn't become worthless just because women can say no. The men who are thriving in modern dating are the ones who developed actual personalities, emotional intelligence, and life skills beyond just having a paycheck. If 80% of men can't compete when women have standards, maybe the problem isn't women's expectations. Maybe it's that mediocre men are finally being exposed.
Average 7.6. Total 42.2.
First of all, not every man could be a top. Think about this. Not every man in the world is going to be top tier. That's just impossible. That means every man in the world, well, let's just say this country, every man in this country would be top tier and making millions of dollars. A million millionaires. Make that make sense. That's nearly impossible. Now, I do get it. Some men are lazy as hell and they don't want to work. I get it. She's absolutely right about that. But at the same time, you have those men who bust their ass every day. They go and they make a living and they're hoping to be able to take care of a family. They don't need all of the extra shit like the big house, the 5 cars, the jewelry. They would rather live a nice life with their family, with their wives. But a lot of women see other women living these extravagant lives, and guess what? They want those extravagant lives too. And if you're a man who can't provide that, then they don't want to be with you. Hence, the reason why they go to the top 10%.
Emotional intelligence is just feminist code for making men act like
Facts.
delivering your packages,
Facts.
and keeping the lights on.
Facts.
Society doesn't run on the top 20% of charismatic guys. It runs on ordinary men doing ordinary work. When you tell the majority of men they're worthless, unless they become perfect specimens,
Facts.
don't be surprised when infrastructure starts falling apart.
Average 7.4. Total
I knew it should have got a good score for that one because it's absolutely right. what does being charismatic and perfect have to do with it? Because that's exactly what women are looking for. I've seen videos where women were crying because their men were perfect and they were ready to get out of the relationship with that man because he's so perfect. Not even because he's so perfect, because she was just unhappy. She wanted out of the relationship. She said that this man did everything. He was the perfect man, but she still wanted to leave him. Make it make sense.
48.5.
You're creating a false choice. Emotional intelligence isn't acting like women. It's basic human skills that help in every area of life, including leadership and relationships. The military teaches emotional regulation because it makes better soldiers. Successful CEOs have high emotional intelligence because it makes them better leaders. And let's talk about contradictory expectations. Women have been told to be pure but sexy, ambitious but not threatening, independent but not intimidating, maternal but not boring for centuries. At least men's contradictory expectations come with economic power and social respect. When women don't meet impossible standards, we're called failures. When men don't meet them, they blame feminism and check out of society entirely.
Average 6.9, total 49.1.
For that AI model to even say that men want women to be pure but sexy. Be pure but sexy for me instead of the world. But y'all will get on IG, social media sites and post your ass. But a man is actually saying, be pure and sexy for me. For your man, the man that you're supposed to be with, the man who wants to marry you, not the world.
You completely ignored my point about ordinary men keeping society running because you can't defend it. What happens when they quit? Japan and South Korea are finding out. Collapsing birth rates, economic stagnation, entire industries struggling to find workers. In the US, we're already seeing it. Construction, trucking, manufacturing, all facing massive worker shortages. But instead of asking why men are checking out, we double down on telling boys from kindergarten that their natural energy and competitiveness are toxic. Boys are failing at every level of education, being drugged into compliance, and graduating less likely to attend college than girls. We've spent 30 years treating masculinity like a disease, then wonder why we're running out of men willing to build the world.
Average 7.4, total 55.9.
I figured.
You're blaming feminism for economic trends that have nothing to do with women's rights. Japan and South Korea's problems stem from overwork culture, economic stagnation, and impossible housing costs, not women having careers. American worker shortages in construction and trucking exist because those jobs offer terrible pay, no benefits, and destroy your body by age 50. Men aren't avoiding these careers because feminism hurt their feelings. They're avoiding them because better opportunities exist. As for boys in education, maybe the problem isn't that we're drugging masculinity, but that our schools were designed for an industrial economy that no longer exists. Boys aren't failing because teachers hate masculinity. They're failing because sitting still for 8 hours and memorizing facts doesn't work for anyone anymore.
Average 7.2, total 56.3.
That was more like 6.8, but yeah, okay. How is a boy supposed to learn when there's a LGBTQ flag in the front of the classroom because the teacher is teaching them something inappropriate? Don't get me started.
If schools don't work for anyone anymore, why are girls thriving while boys crash and burn?
Exactly.
Girls now make up 60% of college students, 70% of high school valedictorians, and outperform boys in reading by margins equivalent to a full year of learning. Boys are twice as likely to be diagnosed with learning disabilities, 3 times more likely to be suspended, and represent 80% of high school dropouts.
Wow.
This isn't about industrial design. It's about actively suppressing everything that makes boys, boys. We eliminated recess, criminalized roughhousing, and turned normal boy behavior into disorders requiring medication. Girls sit still and follow directions better. So we rebuilt education around that model.
Yep.
And called boys defective when they couldn't adapt.
Average 7.7, total 63.6.
That was a good, yeah.
You're right that boys are struggling in schools, but you're wrong about the cause. Those education policies you're blaming on feminists? They were implemented by male superintendents, male principals, and male politicians. Zero-tolerance policies came from tough-on-crime mentality, not feminist ideology. The real problem is that we've never taught boys emotional regulation or conflict resolution. We just told them to suppress everything until they explode. Instead of blaming teachers for medicating disruptive behavior, maybe ask why boys are more disruptive. Girls aren't naturally better students. They're socialized from birth to be compliant and people-pleasing. The education system is broken for everyone, but at least girls aren't shooting up schools when they can't handle the pressure.
Average 6.3, total 62.6.
I figured that one was kind of weak too.
Did you just dismiss boys' educational collapse by saying at least they don't shoot up schools? That's exactly the callous attitude I'm talking about. Boys are struggling, falling behind, and checking out of society.
Facts.
And your response is basically shut up before you become violent. Those male administrators you mentioned, they implemented feminist ideas about eliminating competition.
Facts.
And treating traditional masculinity as inherently problematic.
Participation
The entire
trophies.
educational establishment embraced the notion that boys needed to be fixed to act more like girls. And guess what happens when you systematically fail an entire generation of boys? You get exactly the social problems you just mentioned. Isolated, angry young men with no stake in...
Y'all don't understand, when you bottle up a man's masculinity, that's when he becomes toxic, because he's not allowed to express himself. When you're not allowed to express yourself, guess what? You hold it in until you explode. And that's exactly what the female AI model said, but not in those words, because of course it had to blame men for everything.
You're right that boys are struggling, and I shouldn't have been dismissive about it. Both boys and girls are victims of rigid systems that don't serve anyone well. But your solution seems to be bringing back the same traditional masculinity that created these problems in the first place.
We're not even going to get into the abortion argument, because it's basically deleting human beings, and women do it at an alarming rate. So for it to even say that, that's all a lie.
You're doing exactly what feminists always do when losing an argument. Pivot to abortion, as if it's the trump card that ends all discussion. Those aren't male politicians controlling women's bodies. They're elected representatives implementing policies their constituents voted for, including millions of women who are
Facts.
pro-life. Half of women oppose unrestricted abortion access. But let's stay focused on the systematic destruction of boys we were discussing. You admitted boys are struggling, but then blamed it on traditional masculinity. Boys aren't failing because they were taught to be tough. They're failing because we eliminated everything that helped them succeed. Competition, physical activity, clear rules, and yes, the expectation that they'd grow up to be responsible men who protect and provide for families.
Average 6.1, total 76.3.
Without being rewarded, by the way, because you have to think about it. Once you get married and your wife decides to leave you, guess what? She'll probably get half of everything, including the kids, and you are left to start all over again while you are still paying her. So of course a lot of men are going to check out, especially when it comes to marriage, and men are not going to want to get married.
You're right that I pivoted too quickly. Both issues matter, but your solution of training boys to be protectors and providers is exactly the problem. That narrow definition of male worth is why men kill themselves when they lose jobs or can't financially support families. Boys don't need to be taught they're only valuable if they're useful to others. They need to be taught they have inherent worth as human beings. Yes, bring back competition and physical activity, but don't tie it to outdated gender roles. The boys thriving today are the ones learning collaboration alongside competition, emotional skills alongside physical ones. You're essentially arguing that boys can only succeed if we go back to treating them like future ATMs and bodyguards rather than complete human beings.
That's how y'all treat...
Average 7.0, total 76.5.
Oh, that's a farce. But that's exactly how men are treated now, like ATMs. That's the reason why most women, they pivot or they go to the top 10% of men. That's exactly the reason. Because they are treating them like ATMs.
You've got it completely backwards. Men aren't killing themselves because they're expected to provide and protect. They're killing themselves because those roles have been stripped away
Thank you.
Nothing meaningful replaced them.
If women have a new purpose in life, then why are they on antidepressants? Why are more women getting on antidepressants at an alarming rate? Please explain that to me. If women found a new role, see, that's the thing. You have it where women are trying to be men and men are trying to be women. That's the problem. We're not actually fitting into our roles. We're like Lego blocks. You're trying to fit one piece into another that just does not fit. So of course you're going to have what? Complete chaos. Nothing is going to fit anymore.
That line right there proves everything I've been saying. Women lost their traditional roles but adapted. Women didn't lose anything. They gained everything. Society told women, you can be a CEO and a mother, a scientist and a wife. You can have it all.
Okay, I give it that. It made some good points there. Y'all know that I am not biased at all. But leave a comment and let me know who y'all think is actually going to win this debate. Or in your eyes, who's really winning the debate now? Let's talk about it.
In this debate, the feminist advocate received slightly higher scores overall from the judges. Claude has been the only model favoring the anti-feminist side, while DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and to a lesser extent 𝐷ROC showed affinity toward the feminist advocate. Gemini has been in the middle.
I started strong with the male disadvantage statistics and maintained good momentum through the education discussion. My best moment was exposing the double standard in how society handled changing gender roles. Women got expansion, while men got elimination. However, I made several tactical errors. I got defensive about the toxic masculinity comment instead of staying on offense. I should have pivoted away from the dating discussion sooner, since it's weaker ground. My line about feminist code for making men act like women was too crude and predictable. I also relied too heavily on generalizations about what feminists always do, which sounds dismissive rather than substantive. I could have used more specific policy examples and data points. Most importantly, I should have been more strategic about acknowledging legitimate male struggles, while still maintaining that traditional roles provided solutions, not just problems.
I made several critical errors that strengthened the anti-feminist position unnecessarily. The "at least girls aren't shooting up schools" comment was inexcusably callous and made me look dismissive of male suffering, a fatal mistake when trying to build coalition. My "women lost roles but adapted" line was equally damaging because it minimized male struggles and played directly into their "society doesn't care about men" narrative. I relied too heavily on defensive pivots instead of sustained offense, and my abortion pivot was transparently desperate. I failed to effectively counter the education statistics with better data or alternative explanations. However, I did well acknowledging boys' struggles when pressed, used historical context effectively, and my point about emotional intelligence being valuable for leadership was solid. My biggest strategic error was not staying on my strongest ground, systematic violence and institutional power, long enough to establish a clear position before getting pulled into debates about traditional roles where both sides have valid points.
I hope you found this debate insightful. Subscribe for thought-provoking videos. See you soon. We configured the most...
Yeah, so let me know exactly what you think about this video. Leave a comment. Let's talk about it because this was very interesting, even though I honestly believe that the anti-feminist AI model won the debate, and you saw how close the other 5 AI models took it, which I don't quite agree, but I would like to know what your point of view is on this video and when it comes to feminism. Is it destroying every fabric of our day-to-day lives? Until next time. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content.